So, good morning, everybody. We continue with the class on receptor, wherein yesterday we dealt about what are the types of receptor. What is a receptor? It is a specialized nerve ending, or it is a terminal afferent ending that undergo depolarization in response to a specific type of physical stimuli. It is also a biological transducer. That means it transforms one kind of energy into another. They behave like transducer and can transmit any type of physical energy into electrical energy. The intensity being coded by amplitude modulation. The receptor is capable of transforming local graded and non-graded propagated electrical energy into non-graded all or none and propagated electrical response. Today's class is dealing about generator potential. For any impulse to be initiated in a sensory receptor, we need to know the concept of generator potential and action potential. This is studied by what is called as microneurography or microdissection technique using microelectrodes. If a receptor is stimulated, the electrical activity originating at the nerve endings can be recorded. If a receptor, any receptor, if it is stimulated, the initial electrical activity is stationary, non-propagating but graded. This is called as generator potential or receptor potential. The generator potential is localized in the region without being propagated actively over the rest of the sensory nerve. That means it doesn't get conducted, it doesn't get propagated. It has got no refractory period and it is not affected by local anesthetics. Generator potential is not a synonym of action potential. So when does action potential develop? So whenever the stimuli cause sensory receptor to depolarize and produce a voltage, it is called generator potential or change in membrane potential resulting in reversal of potential. This is not an action potential, it is not propagated or transmitted. But when the stimuli increases, the magnitude of the generator potential increases and an action potential is generated. As we see, when the stimulus gets stronger, you do not get bigger action potential, you get more action potential per minute. Higher frequency of action potential means stronger stimulus. So when does action potential develop? Action potential is developed when the generator potential attains a threshold level due to graded activity. When the magnitude of the generator potential is about 10 millivolts, when it is about 10 millivolts, an action potential is generated in the sensory nerve. If the intensity of the stimulus in the receptor is increased, or if it is further increased, then the generator potential is increased further and the frequency of discharge of action potential is increased. So the frequency of discharge of action potential is proportionate to the magnitude. As we see, the weaker stimulus produce smaller generator potential with lesser number of action potential, whereas a stronger stimulus can produce a larger generator potential, but the number of action potential, that is the frequency of action potential, is increased. Now we will study how a receptor potential is studied. This is studied successfully in the eye of an horse crab, shoe crab, or frog spindle and Pacinian corpuscle of the cat. Why Pacinian corpuscle? It is because the receptor is relatively large and can be isolated. It can be studied with microelectrodes and subjected to microdissection. These corpuscles, that is the Pacinian corpuscles, are surrounded by concentric lamellae of connective tissue and consist of straight unmyelinated, the lighter shade inside the Pacinian is the unmyelinated ending of the sensory nerve fiber, which are 2 millimicrons in diameter. The myelin of the sensory begins, which is the darker portion inside the corpuscle. You can see the first node of Ranvier is inside the lamellae. It has been shown that these microdissection techniques, that after removal of this concentric lamellae, there is still initiation of generator potential along with propagated action potential. If bits of this inner core of the lamellae are removed, still there is no defect in the initiation of action generator potential, and subsequently action potential is generated. So what we are demonstrating here is, the diagram is, it shows development of generator potential in graded pattern, the A, B, C, D, when it reaches, as the stimulus strength is gradually increased with the development of propagated action potential. So we can see in figure 1 there is an action potential, figure 2 also there is an action potential, 3 where there is pressure applied, the generator potential is as usual, but the action potential is not developed after blocking the first node of Ranvier by pressure. Finally, we have the fourth one, which shows that failure of development of generator potential after degeneration of the nerve. So this is what we are trying to study. This is studied in a Pacinian corpuscle because it is large and microdissection can be done. The lamellae can be removed and the unmyelinated neuron can be studied, or the first node of Ranvier can. So the unmyelinated nerve terminal is allowed to degenerate. There is no generator or action potential. So from this we can conclude that generator potential is developed in the unmyelinated nerve terminal and not in the elements of corpuscle, as because majority of the latter can be removed without affecting the development of the generator potential or the receptor potential. The generator potential is local to the nerve terminal and results from a process taking place there while the conducted potential is developed in the first node of Ranvier. To be precise, depolarization of the sensory nerve endings is the generator potential. If it attains a certain magnitude or the intensity increases, they may stimulate the sensory nerve itself. Thereby, there is a definite relationship between magnitude of generator and potential and frequency of discharge of. So what is the ionic basis? The ionic basis is, it is known that if you stimulate the receptor, there is an increase in sodium conduction. There is an inward rush of sodium through the membrane, that is, resulting in sodium influx causing development of generator potential. The magnitude of the permeability is proportionate to the intensity of the stimulus. So what does the stimulus do? It induces a local change of permeability where there is a reversal of potential, where the deformed area, the interior becomes positive. So there is a reversal of potential due to change in the sodium permeability, and thereby there is an initiation of local non-propagated potential, which when reaches the threshold of 10 millivolts can produce an action potential which is all or none and propagated. So I think there is a difference between generator potential and graded potential, and it is studied in Pacinian corpuscles. This is called by we are studying this by the process of microneurography. So we can see the different properties of the sensory receptors. So Weaver-Petzner law states that the magnitude of sensation felt is proportionate to the log of intensity of the stimulus. For example, if intensity is 10 units, then the magnitude of sensation is 1. If it is 100, the magnitude of sensation will be 2. If it is 1000, it will be 3. This law is applicable in audition. The ability of discrimination is more for low intensity than for high intensity. From this we are telling, this means that if the stimulus is increased by 10 times, the sensation is felt is doubled. So sensation felt is, so we can always study the relationship of intensity of stimulus with size of the generator potential and frequency of action potential with Weber-Fechner's law. This is used for audition. So it depends on the intensity. One is the increasing firing rate or the recruitment of the receptors. Weber-Fechner's law states that the magnitude of perceived is proportionate to the log of intensity of the stimulant. So I is equal to K log S by SO. So you can see the action potential where the magnitude is from the resting membrane potential. So the number of, as the intensity increases, there is more recruitment of receptor and thereby it is based on power law. So we are dealing with the intensity of stimulus and the size of the generator potential. When the intensity increases, the frequency of action potential also increases. So what are the different properties? The first property is specificity or law of adequate stimulus, or also called as differential sensitivity. Each receptor is sensitive to a specific stimulus. The receptor is designed for the stimulus and does not respond to any other type of stimuli in normal strength. In increasing strength, it may respond. This specific stimulus is called adequate stimulus for the receptor. So the more specific to one type of stimulus, this specific stimulus is called as adequate. They respond to this particular stimulus at a much lower threshold than other stimulus. This is the first, which is specificity of law of adequate stimulus. The second one is adaptation. So we have different types where when a stimulus of constant strength is applied, the frequency of action potential in its sensory nerve decreases over a period of time. Or in other words, if a sensory nerve is stimulated for some time, then the frequency of discharge from that organ is gradually declined, though the constant stimulus is continuing. So we have two types of receptors. This adaptation is also called as desensitization. Adaptation depends on the type of receptors. Depending on the degree of adaptation, we have two types: rapidly adapting and slowly adapting. So this rapidly adapting receptors, or we have the slowly adapting receptors. Slowly adapting receptors are also called as tonic receptors, which are stationary. For example, the muscle spindle and proprioceptors. They produce constant rate of firing as long as the stimulus is applied. So these slowly adapting receptors, like muscle spindles, with the onset of stimulation, the frequency of discharge is increased initially but declines slowly. When the stimulus is applied, the receptors, the frequencies increase. On the other hand, the phasic receptor, which are the rapidly adapting receptors, like the hair receptors or the skin or the Pacinian corpuscles, here the frequency of discharge is increased initially but declines abruptly and becomes silent although the stimulation is applied constantly. So these are phasic or dynamic and rapid, whereas tonic are static and stationary. In muscle spinal it is tonic receptors, whereas Pacinian in the hair cells we have phasic type of receptors. Some of the receptors don't get adapted. For example, the nociceptors. It takes around 2 days. So when you talk about adaptation, there's something called as sensitization. The sensitization of receptors, for example, the mechanism of adaptation is different for each type of receptor. The rods and cones adapt by changing the concentration of their photosensitive pigments. Some receptors adapt by accommodation. This occurs by progressive inactivation of sodium channel in the receptor membrane. Pacinian corpuscles adapt by readjustment in the structure of the corpuscle itself. So when we talk about desensitization, we need to speak about sensitization of receptors. It is opposite of desensitization. In sensitization, repeated application of unpleasant stimulus produce greater and greater receptors. So nociceptors, that is the pain, the noxious stimuli receptors are that do not adapt since pain is protective phenomena. So after sensitization, the nociceptor respond to stimuli like stretch and weak pressure. So there is adaptation and which is desensitization and sensitization. What is Muller's doctrine of specific nerve energy? See, when a sensory nerve pathway from a particular receptor or a sense organ is stimulated anywhere in its course, the sensation evoked depends on the area in which the sensory pathway terminates. The sensory pathway is through the dorsal column. The specificity of the nerve fiber to transmit each sensation separately to the center is called label line principle. This was discovered by Müller, a German anatomist, in 1835, and this is called doctrine of specific nerve energy. We will understand this with an example. If the sensory nerve fiber from a Pacinian corpuscle in the hand is stimulated in the region of the elbow, the sensation evoked is pressure in the hand. So once again, the impulse generated when a receptor is stimulated travel in a specific pathway and they activate specific part of receptors. Action potential reaching in all the nerve fibers reaching the brain are identical. But if the stimulation of different receptors evokes different sensation, even though the action potentials are same. For example, stimulation of touch receptors produces only touch sensation, not any other sensation. And we can distinguish this as light touch and heavy touch. This is because sensory pathways are discrete from the sense organ to cerebral pathway. So when a tract is stimulated anywhere along the pathway, the sensation is felt is that for which the receptor is specialized. These separate pathway from the sensory receptor to cortex are formed during development. So these are specific nerve energies. That means they are specific to the nerve energies. The energies are the for example, the receptor in the Pacinian corpuscle is stimulated in the hand, is stimulated in the elbow. Then the sensation is evoked in the pressure in the hand. So we need to know that We need to know that each receptor organ with its afferent nerve transmits only one modality of sensation. Generally, action potential in all nerve fibers are similar, yet action potential developed from pressure receptor causes sensation of pressure, not of warmth or cold. This is the purview of doctrine of specific nerve energy. So, the sensory pathway from sense organ to the cortex runs as discrete fibers. So, what is law of projection? Whenever the sensory pathway is stimulated along the course from the receptor to the cortex, the conscious sensation is felt or is located at the site of the receptor. The sensory cortex is called as somasthetic cortex. It is located in the post-central gyrus of the parietal lobe, Brodmann area 312, also somatosensory area 1. Here the body is represented in upside down manner. Certain regions are represented over a larger area. For example, the lips, tongue and hands have a larger area of representation. The area of representation is proportionate to the number of receptors per unit area. That means the tongue, lips and hands occupy a larger area in the brain. This is mainly because the number of receptors are more. So what is this law of projection? Whenever a sensory pathway is stimulated anywhere along the course from the receptor to the sensory cortex, the conscious sensation is felt only at the location of the receptor from which the pathway is originated. This principle is called the law of projection. For example, if the cortical area for pain sensation from left hand is stimulated, the pain sensation is felt in the left hand and not in the head. So, pain fibers from the receptors from the little finger are stimulated at the elbow. The subject experiences the pain in the little finger and not in the elbow. And most often this happens in amputated limb. The irritation of the cut nerves at the stump. Here the patient experiences the sensation like pain from the original site of the receptor. So what is this phantom limb? It is also called as phantom limb, phantom breast, phantom teeth. Phantom means non-existent. In an amputated person, or these are called as amputees, when the nerve fibers at the amputated end are irritated due to exposure, due to pressure, the patient complains of pain and proprioceptive sensation in the absent limb. The sensation evoked or projected to where the receptor used to be present. This is called phantom limb because the sensation is felt in the part of the body which is removed from the body. Phantom means ghost or non-existent. That means wherever the pathway is stimulated, the conscious sensation is felt only at the site of the receptor. So this is called law of projection. So law of intensity discrimination we already discussed. This is based on Weber-Fechner's law, where the strength of the stimulus is interpreted in two ways, either by varying the frequency of the action potential generated in a receptor, that is Weber-Fechner's, or varying the number of receptors activated. When the frequency of action potential reaching the cerebral cortex is increased, the cortex distinguishes it as high intensity stimulus. This is based on the strength of the stimulus by varying frequency and number of receptors. So what is recruitment? When a high intensity stimulus can increase the number of receptors stimulated because the stimulus spreads over a larger area, more and more sensory units are recruited. So what is a sensory unit? It is a single sensory axon with all its peripheral branches constitute a sensory axon. unit. So this is what a sensory unit. The green color is the sensory unit. We'll come to that in detail. So when the intensity of the stimulus is increased, the number of the receptors stimulated also increases. That means there are recruitment of more receptors. So the more and more sensory units are recruited. Weak stimulus only activates the receptors with lower threshold, but the stronger stimulus can activate receptors with lower and higher thresholds. Because of this, there is overlapping of sensory units, and more sensory units are stimulated with stronger stimuli. This recruitment, we need to understand the receptive field. So for that, what is a sensory unit? A single sensory axon and its peripheral branches constitute a sensory unit. The number of branches vary. The receptive field of a sensory unit is the sensory area from which the stimulus can produce a response in that unit, or particular sensory area from which the sensory neuron receives from its receptive field. The area of the skin where stimulation changes in firing rate of the receptors. The receptors are stimulated, and this is called the receptive field. The receptive field of a sensory unit is the sensory area from which a stimulus can produce a response in that particular sensory area from which the sensory neuron receives information is its receptive field. There is overlapping of areas supplied by different sensory units. Precise localization of stimulus is possible only if receptive field is small. Back and legs have few sensory, so receptive field is large. Area of receptive field varies inversely with density of receptors. So what is inhibition? This helps to sharpen the edge of the stimulus. Sometimes the efferent inhibitory axons may impinge on the dendrites. So as we know, the receptors are nothing but special afferent endings. These are dendrites which reach the cell bodies in the spinal cord of a sensory neuron. If such inhibitory axons are stimulated, then these axons inhibit the discharge of receptors they inhibit. Even though the stimulus activates many receptors simultaneously, due to the phenomenon of lateral inhibition, the actual position of the stimulus can be located. So it is sharpening the edge of the stimulus. So how it is? When there is a inhibition from another axon, there is. So we can understand this. Inhibition of lateral neurons enhance perception of stimuli. That means they are sharpening. We can see in this diagram how it is enhance the perception. So we have primary neurons, the secondary and tertiary neurons, one inhibiting another. The secondary neuron, the center one is inhibiting both the neurons and the sense of perception, or the perception of stimulus is enhanced. If a pin is stimulated, or if you pierce a pin, how this happens by the process of lateral inhibition. It sharpens the stimulus localization. Collaterals connections inhibit neighboring neurons. Weaker signals get weaker, whereas stronger signals are relatively stronger. So we can understand that how the lamella is used to study the receptor potential. If the pressure is applied, then the receptor potential declines. So in spite of this, so we have some applied aspect for receptors. So head has classified this superficial sensation to epicretic sensation and protopathic. So depending on the number of receptors, we can always say whether For example, the lips, the nipple have more receptors, whereas the back has lesser receptors. So for this we'll have different types of tests. So we have two types of senses. Epicritic sensation, which include finer aspects of senses like fine touch, tactile localization, tactile discrimination, whereas protopathic sensation are crude aspects of sensation like crude touch, pressure, pain, temperature, itching and tickling. Itch and tickle are tickle is free nerve endings, whereas itching can be due to a common skin problem due to allergy or accumulation of bile salts in the dermis. So this itching is also called as pruritus. So we need to understand what is synthetic senses. These are combination of other senses. They can be all they are vibration sense, 2-point discrimination and stereognosis. So what is vibration sense? It is a combination of touch and pressure senses. What is 2-point discrimination? The minimal distance by which two touch stimuli must be separated to be perceived or separate, and this is called 2-point threshold. This depends on the touch sensation, and the cortex is also essential component to distinguish two close points as two separate points. So this is a cortical sensation. The distance varies from place to place in the body, and this depends on the number of receptors present in unit area. The points on the back can be separated by 65 mm or more in the order of distinguished as two separated points. At the fingertip, two stimuli can be identified as two separated points by 3 mm because of the density of the receptors. In the back, the density of receptors are less, wherein the fingertips, the lips and the nipple, the density of receptors are more and the distance is less. Whereas stereognosis, which is another cortical sensation, is defined as the ability to identify familiar objects by handling them without looking at them. So for example, in your closed eyes, if I give you the familiar objects like pen, pencil or anything or keychain, you are able to recognize. This ability depends on the intact touch and pressure system and the intact sensory association area in the parietal lobe. If there is a parietal lobe disorder, then it results in astereognosis. So we have come to the end of the class on receptor, where we came to know about general and special receptors, which was classified into extero, intero and macroreceptors. We came to know different properties. What is generator potential? Only when the generator potential reaches a threshold of 10 millivolts, an action potential is propagated in a sensory neuron, and this is mainly due to sodium influx, and this is ideally studied in a Pacinian corpuscle. And the different properties you came to know: what is the adequate stimulus, the relation of the strength of the stimulus, and what is Muller's doctrine of specific nerve energy, where each receptor organ with its afferent nerve transmits only one modality of sensation. So if it is pressure, it is only pressure. What is law of projection? When any sensory pathway from the receptor to the cortex is stimulated, the conscious sensation is located or referred only to the where the receptor is placed. This happens in whenever you stimulate anywhere, it depends on the receptor location. And intensity discrimination was studied by using Weber-Fechner's law, and the recruitment according to the strength of the stimuli, the number of sense organs, but when the strength is increased, the number of receptors are increased. We came to know what is adaptation, and adaptation is desensitization, and what is sensitization. Thank you.